Hello everyone, welcome back to English class. Today we are going to start one new chapter and the chapter name is The Happy Prince. It is written by Oscar Wilde. So let me give you a small introduction of this chapter, then I will start reading line by line. So as the title of this story suggests us, this story is all about the Happy Prince. Now who is the Happy Prince? Actually the Happy Prince is a statue in this story. And you know what happens when the prince was alive? He used to live in a palace, that means in royal residence. Sorrow was not allowed to enter in his palace and everyone was very much happy. And that is why prince thought that everywhere is happiness. There is nothing but happiness all around him, especially in his palace. So he never came to know about the tears, what is poverty, what is misery. So he saw only the one part of the life where there was happiness everywhere. He couldn't see what is the poverty, what is misery, and what kind of ugliness is there even in the society. But when he died, after his death, his courtiers made one statue of this happy prince with precious stones and the metals like gold, and it was hanged on the top of the column, that is on a high pillar. It was over the city. Now the prince could see all the ugliness and the unhappiness in the society. Earlier when he was alive, as I told you, he led his life very happily, and that is why his courtiers used to call him the happy prince. But after his death, when his statue means what? Idol. So when his statue was hanged on a high pillar, that time he was not happy at all. Why? Because standing high above the city, the prince could see all the poverty, misery, and ugliness of the city. Yet he could not do anything. Why? Because now he could see only, he could feel only, but his position was fixed because he was now a statue only. So, what happened one night? A little swallow, that means a little bird, came there, and very soon the little bird and the prince became very good friends. And with the help of his friend, the little bird, the swallow, the prince began to help the poor because when prince was alive that time also he was a very gentle person, a kind-hearted person. So after his death, when he became able to see the misery and the poverty in the society, so he just tried to help the needy people with the help of this new friend, a new bird. But in the end, they both, that means the prince and the bird, met with a tragic end. Tragic end means what? Not happy end. So, was the end really tragic? We will understand it after reading the story. So, let's start reading this story. This is first part of this chapter. High above the city on tall column stood the statue of Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with the leaves of the fine gold for eyes. He had two bright sapphires and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. So here the difficult word is sword hilt. What is the sword hilt? Suppose that this one is what the sword and this is the topmost part which we use to hold the sword, the talwar. Alright. So this is known as what? Gilt. So this was decorated with a very precious stone that is red ruby. The entire body of the statue, that means the happy prince, was decorated with very precious stones and the gold, that means costly metal. All right. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. The prince asked the swallow all day long. All day long he flew, and at night time he arrived at the city. Where shall I put up? He said. I hope the town has made preparations. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. I will put up there, he cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. So what happens one day? A bird decided to go to Egypt, and that is why, because his friend already had gone to Egypt and he had lagged behind. And after some week, the bird decided to visit to Egypt to meet his friend, and that is why the entire day he flew, and finally at night he arrived the city. And after coming the city, the bird decided to take rest because he was very much tired. And suddenly he saw the happy prince statue. And the bird decided to take rest there only. He thought that, the bird thought that because the statue was at very high space, at very high place, it was over the city. That is why it seemed to the bird that the bird will get very sufficient and the pure oxygen and what? Plenty of fresh air. And that is why he found that place very much comfortable and just alighted. Alighted means what? Flew down. Alighted means what? Flew down. So the bird shifted there between the feet of the happy prince. I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked round and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wings, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. Then another drop fell. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. I must look for good chimney pot. And he determined to fly away. But before, don't move, don't move, don't move. But before he had opened his wing, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw, what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. So, what happens when the bird, because because of the entire day, he was very much tired because the entire day he flew. So, at the end, at night, he wanted to take rest. So, when he was about to sleep, under his wing, a large drop of a large drop of water fell on him. So the bird became very much, curious. Like he became very much shocked. What kind of droplets came down? Because there was not a single cloud in the sky. The stars were quite clear and bright, and yet it was raining. The bird was very much amazed because he saw that the sky was very much clear. You know, if it rains, like whenever it rains, you can see before raining, you can see the cloud full of dark, you can see the sky that becomes full of dark clouds. And when the clouds become very much, heavy, then it cannot hold that heavy droplets, and that is why it starts coming down in the form of water droplets, and that is known as what? Rain. So the bird was amazed. So from where these droplets are coming? When he was looking towards the sky and thinking about from where the droplets are coming, suddenly another drop fell on him. What is the use of this statue? And finally he started telling to the statue like what kind of statue is this, like this statue is useless if it cannot hold the raindrops. And finally the bird decided to leave this place and take any other shelter. So when he was about to fly, suddenly another drop fell on him, and this time he just saw towards the upside, and he became very much shocked. Why? Because he found that the droplets was not rainwater, it was the tears which was coming from the statue of the happy prince eyes. Okay, he saw that the eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and that is why tears were coming or running down his golden cheeks. And because it was moonlight, that means there was everywhere light, and that is why, and moreover, the face and the entire body of the happy prince was decorated with precious jewels and the precious metals. So it was shining in the moonlight. So the prince was looking so beautiful, very attractive to the bird. So bird became shocked why the prince is crying. Who are you? He said. I am happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. Drenched me means what? Made wet. Okay. Opposite of drenched is what? Dry. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. You have made me wait. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue, I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. My courtiers called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was. Indeed means what? Reality. Really. So I lived and so I died. And now then, I am dead. They have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. And though my heart is made up of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. What? Is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remark. So finally, what happens when the bird saw that tears are coming from the prince? It was not the droplets, it was not the rainwater, but it was the tears which was coming from the prince's eyes. And that is why the bird asked the prince, who are you and why are you crying? So the prince said that I am the happy prince. So next the bird asked him, if you are happy prince, then why are you crying? So the prince told him the entire story. He said to he said to the bird that when he was alive and he had a human heart, he never knew about what tears were because he was living in a palace, and in the palace, in a royal residence, everyone was very much happy there. There was no sorrow at all, and that is why he led his entire life very happily. And because of his nature, His all courtiers used to call him. Courtiers means what? Ministers and the officers. So his all courtiers used to call him what? Happy Prince, the Happy Prince. But now he died. He is no more, and he said that I was now I am at very high place, like people like the courtiers made my statue with the precious stones, decorated it with the gold plates, and my courtiers hanged me on the pillar over the city. That means at very high place. So from where and I can see all the misery, poverty, and the ugliness of the city. And now only, after my death only, I realized what is the meaning of tears. That I never thought what was the meaning of tears when I was alive and I had a human heart. But now I am dead, and still I am able to see the misery and all, because I am hanged on a very high place. Far away, continued the statue in a low musical voice. Far away in a little street there is a poor house, and the happy prince kept continue speaking to the bird. Further, the prince is saying in a very low musical voice, far away in the little street there is a poor house. One of the window is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands, all pricked by the needle. Her hands are not very much smooth, it is very rough, because so many needle are pricked, you know, because all pricked by the needle. Her hands are pricked by the needle. Why her hands are pricked by the needle? Because she is Lady Tailor, and whenever she uh, does this any work like the decoration of embroidering or making any gown and all, so because of her profession, see what that her hands are pricked by the needle because of continuous work of this kind of work, like tailoring work. Because of this tailoring work, she had very rough hand, and it is pricked by the needle. For she is sea mistress. Sea mistress means what? It means what? A lady tailor. A lady who sews clothes. She is embroidering flowers on the satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor to wear at the next court ball. Actually, she was busy in making one gown for the royal dance party. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water, so he is crying, swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. So the further, the happy prince is telling to the bird that now there is one house in the street and the window is open, and I am able to see one lady who is preparing one gown for the prince for the royal party, because she was given an order to make the beautiful gown and to decorate the gown. So she is very much busy in making the gown, but beside her, you know, nearby that lady, her son is there, and the son was lying ill. That means the son of Lady Taylor was not well. He was sick and he was suffering from high fever, and that is why he was requesting to his mother to give him some orange. But the mother was helpless because she had nothing give to give her, her son. She had only what? The river water. So she was helpless. She was very poor lady. She had nothing to offer to her son except river water. And that is why when the boy was not getting the oranges because he was demanding to give him orange. So he started crying. And that is why when the prince saw it, he couldn't stop himself. And that is why he made a request to the little bird, swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? So he just requested the bird, please take out the red ruby from the sword hilt and give it to that lady. And when she will sell it, then definitely she will get some money in return. And from this money, she could buy the oranges and some other fruits for her loving son. So this was all about the part first. In part second, we will continue from the paragraph number 5. Thank you very much.